to another edition of the Roundtable Talk, and I am your host, C Money, and I'm here at Shabundy Park. I'm back again here at Shabundy Park. This is one of my childhood parks that I used to come to as a child when I was little. Opa-locka was one of the cities I resided in as a child, and I'm here. It's to see that the park have changed. I did an episode here once before, and I'm doing another episode here. I come to several locations throughout the South Florida area and do episodes. And this is one of the parks that I frequent as a young kid because it was, one of the parks that was closest to me as a child. In today's episode, I want to talk about a topic that's been talked about amongst people, but not as much as our main topic or a big topic, but a topic that's been talked about: the cost of living and the change of the economy. We're going to talk about why where this conversation come about, what's the purpose of the conversation, and also what is there about this conversation that people are saying, and a lot of stuff, because I've been getting seeing a lot of people talk about it, and I say it's this topic that I should do. And as always, subscribe to our channel if you haven't also do so. If you haven't already did so, subscribe to our channel. You can comment at the bottom of this page. You can also email us roundtable00@yahoo.com if you would like an episode to be a topic to be discussed on any of our future episodes. Don't forget to check out our past episodes. Let's get into it. The cost of living and the change in the economy. The reason why this topic came about, because I've seen a lot of people saying now that, and I've seen like little posts how a lot of people are paying today's prices for 1980 and 1990 apartments. And the question has come about, why are you paying prices for yesterday's apartments? Meaning that a lot of these apartments that people live in are not up-to-date apartments. They're not modern-day luxury apartments, and you're actually paying prices that you would pay if you was living in a newer model-built apartments. And a lot of people are stressing that in their concerns with a lot of things. That's a concern for a lot of people, especially in the urban areas. If you live in the urban communities, if you live in areas, the black communities, and the projects and the poor projects, or the poor communities, or the low, I'm not saying poor, I'm gonna change the low income family areas, where a lot of low income families live. A lot of these places, they're not, it's not, low income anymore, because now, and I've seen the changes not only just here in the South Florida area, but also here in other cities and states and a lot of places. I see that there are a lot of communities that are driving the projects out and moving in certain things. Remember back in the day, like certain areas was only designated for the black people. You had certain neighborhoods and certain areas that had barriers where this side was only for the black people, and then the other side was for the whites. And then now you got it where they're driving the black people out of certain communities and putting all communities in. I've seen several projects here in the South Florida area that have been redeveloped into modern day apartments and townhomes and community homes and low income homes, and they've pushed the low income government assistant families out of their places. When I mean government assistance, I mean like Section 8, HUD, people who rely on the government for assistance. They push them out and move them into other areas where they don't call home. And these are the areas that they're pushing them out. The areas that they're pushing them out is areas that they called home. So now you're moving them out, and stuff like that. So, the cost of living is going up. I've seen areas where people used to pay $300 and $400 for rent, now are paying $800-900. Back in, I would say 2005, 2006, I had a 2-bedroom apartment, which was $475. And within a year or within like 2 years of living there, the rent went up to $100, which was $575, and then I had to end up paying my own utilities, meaning I know I had to pay my own lights, but I didn't know living in an apartment. Some apartments you do pay your own water, and I'm like, I'm not finna pay $575, which is then there's $600, and I gotta pay my own utilities, and there are some places that are like that, and that was back in 2005. Now the price is probably $700 to $800 by now, because the cost of living goes up almost every year in a lot of areas, especially in the urban black communities, and a lot of people are stressing that it is hard for people, not just African Americans, but people of all walks that live in low income communities to actually survive when the cost of living is going up everywhere. And a lot of people are stressing concerns, and it's just because the economy is not changing. And what I mean about economy, there are some cities and some states, that are still offering only $8, $9, maybe $10 an hour minimum wage. Florida just passed the $15 minimum wage law into effect, but it will take a couple of years before anybody see the $15 an hour, because it goes up as time change. And if you're only making $10 or $11 an hour, it's going to take you about 3-4 years before you actually get to $15. New York is already have their minimum wage at $15, but you have to realize in New York the prices are sky high. I recently visited Georgia. I visited Georgia in 2009, and I know I've said this on numerous occasions on previous shows that I've visited Georgia. And I visited Atlanta and I visited Albany. And Albany prices are very cheap. The only thing about Albany and in the state of Florida, in the state of Georgia, a lot of the state of Georgia, the cost of living is very low. The only thing about that, and then the only problem is that you don't have the proper minimum wage. Georgia's probably the minimum wage, I think, is around $8 to $9, if I'm not mistaken, the last time I checked. So for you, that may be nice for somebody whose rent is only $200-$300 a month, but when you're trying to save and you want to put a little cushion money aside, it doesn't give you enough to save. Because let's say, for instance, your minimum wage is $9 an hour. Sorry, not $9 an hour. And your rent is maybe $300 a month. You still have to pay rent. You have to pay utilities, which means not utility, lights, water, maybe gas, depending on where you live. And certain areas of Georgia, you don't get a lot of channels. Like here in South Florida, we get a whole bunch of tonnage. We get like 20, 30, 40 channels. We get a whole bunch of channels. In Georgia, you only get like 2 or 3 channels. So you definitely have to have cable, unless you're going to be watching YouTube all day. And internet is not reliable in Georgia, because down here you have a whole bunch of internet companies. You have Comcast, AT&T, you have broadband. You have a lot of these internet companies and stuff like that. But of Georgia, you don't have that kind of access to all of these. So it's like everything is limited. So you have to pay for a lot of services out there, and with the money you're making, it only will probably allow you to pay for your, basic essentials. A place to stay, groceries, you need a car, because I visited Georgia, and transportation is not like how it is down here in South Florida. Transportation, Albany, they bus service stops at 8 o'clock. Atlanta bus service stops around midnight. I think midnight to 1 a.m. I believe. Because I did catch the transportation in Atlanta, and it was pretty okay. But and then everything's spaced out in Georgia. A lot of these places, because my mom and dad is from Georgia, and where they're from, there's no bus service. And where a lot of these people are from, there's no bus service. It'll probably cost you an arm and a leg if they do provide car ride services, which is Lyft and Uber. So it's like, how do you manage to survive, when cost of living keeps going up? Down here in South Florida, Miami offer 24-hour bus service, but only, it's not every buses. It's 24 hours. They only allowed on certain routes. Broward County is not 24-hour bus service, and Palm Beach County is not 24-hour bus service. So when you come down to it, when you looking at these services, you go and say, the cost of living is going up and everything is going up, but but the job market is not going up. Just like when I go around, I see McDonald's saying, "Oh, we're starting our crew workers at $11 an hour," but I've seen people that our rent is like $1,300 a month, $1,200, $1,200, $1,300 a month, to where the point like you have to have 3 or 4 jobs to pay rent. A lot of these places, every time they go around and they say, "Oh, the keeping up with the maintaining of these buildings and stuff, we have to raise our rent, and we have to do it." And I understand that, but then you also have to realize, look at some of these buildings that these cost of living keeps going up. These buildings look like they was built in the 1980s and 1990s, and they look like they was built in the 1970s, and all you doing is just slapping some paint on it and raising the price. And I'm like, that doesn't necessarily qualify for this building to go up for a cost of living, because a lot of these buildings are not modern day buildings that was built in 2005, 2006. They wasn't built in the new millennium, where you can pay these prices. A 1-bedroom will cost you anywhere between $600 to $1,000 just for 1-bedroom. A 2-bedroom anywhere can cost you from anywhere from $800 to $1,500. Even a studio apartment, which is basically what you would call it an efficiency, but in most cases they call it a studio. That'll run you up to $1,000, and that's you're living in a 1 room, meaning that your kitchen and your bedroom and your living room is all in one place. The only thing that's separate is your bathroom, and it's like literally you're paying $1,000 just to live in a studio. And I'm like, that is ridiculous, And a lot of people now are going around talking about, "Oh, the cost of living keeps going up. The cost of living keeps going up. How am I been?" Yeah, because when you have $1,000 rent and you're only making no more than $10 an hour, I see people that has to work 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. And now with COVID-19 out here, it's a lot hard, a lot more difficult. Excuse me, there's something in my mouth. It's a lot more difficult for people out here to survive off of. Excuse me, I had something in my mouth. I'm sorry. It's a lot more harder for people to survive out here, because now the cost of living, people are still struggling from COVID-19. You have a lot of people out here that are still struggling from, their jobs being lost. Just like I was having a conversation earlier, and I was like, a lot of these people, let's say for instance you was a manager or a store manager for a national company. Let's say for instance you was a store manager for Toys R Us. Toys R Us have closed their doors, and now you have to start, like Drake said, start from the bottom and come back up. You was a store manager at a Toys R Us, or you was a restaurant manager at a restaurant, and the restaurant closed down due to sales are not doing good. The company filed for bankruptcy, or COVID-19 shut the restaurants down or the stores down. And then now you have to look for another job, and you're not going to get the same pay you was getting at your job before. Your job was probably paying you $17 to $18 an hour as a manager. Now you got to come in as a regular worker and work your way up, because most of these jobs are going to say, "No, we don't need a manager. We got a manager." You're going to come in as a crew member. And so now you got to work your way up to build up the money that you used to make at your other job, and you're not making the money like you used to. And then the cost of living keeps going up. So now you have to realize, how I'm going to pay my bills when I don't have to try in 2 or 3 jobs just to make the money that I was making before, it's hurting a lot of people, and a lot of people are hurting, their pockets because of that. And it's a topic that people always stress. I can't afford to live, cost of living. Like down here, a majority of the population of the urban areas, a lot of people are on government assistance. That's why, down here they say, oh, the waiting list is long to get on government assistance. Yeah, because a lot of people just trying to get on government assistance because it's hard for them to survive down here. There's people out here that only making $9, $10, $11 an hour, and their rent is $800, $900 an hour. Not only that, most of them have cars and they have kids and they got rent, and most of them are trying to. Yeah, and then most of my friends and family members and loved ones that I've known have moved out of South Florida. And one of the reasons why is because the cost of living keeps going up, And then I've had some people that complain when because as you know, Dollar Tree went up on their prices from $1 they went to $1.25, and I heard a lot of people like, why did Dollar Tree go up and blah blah blah, and I said, you gotta, and I told them, I said, you gotta realize one thing. Dollar Tree is just like gas. Every time the gas prices go up for the gas stations and the oil companies or whatever, they have to go up on their prices for their gas. So when you see that the gas was $2.99 yesterday, now it's $3.39 today, it's because the gas prices for the oil companies keep going up, so they have to raise the price of their gas for the customers. It's the same thing with supermarkets and stores and department stores and chain stores. When they purchasing price goes up, they may pay $300 for an item, and they buy it in bulk, and then it goes up to $325. Of course, they have to raise the prices of their products to their customers. Now, $125 is still extremely low compared to you going to Family Dollar or Dollar General or all of these other discount stores. It's fairly still low. But the thing about it is, now you still have to pay tax on it and stuff, and a lot of people. But I say you have to realize it's the same way with the cost of living going up. A lot of these rental companies have to go up on their rent because a lot of their stuff. Their property taxes probably going up, or the cost of if you live in an area where live in a building where the water bill is going up, where they pay the water, and a lot of the things that they pay for on their property probably going up. So now they have to raise their rent, because they send out emails and paperwork saying due to the inflation, decrease in property management and all that stuff, they have to raise their prices. They can't say they pay $1,000 for every unit and you only pay $500. That $500 has to come from somewhere, and they rather you pay an extra $200-$300 and stuff like that, so they can cover the cost of that extra $500. Because you have to pay the upkeeps of that. You have to pay the maintenance people to come on, and the cleaning people to come on, and cut the grass and do all the upkeeps on the buildings and stuff like that. And a lot of people are like, why do I gotta pay this? Why do I gotta pay that? And I understand it, but then again, I don't understand it, because as the cost of living going up, the job market and the minimum wage is still the same. Like in New York, they're $15 an hour for a minimum wage. But I heard from numerous times that a lot of people, that the cost of living up there is way worse than what it is down here. Like in the 90s, Florida used to be the retirement state. Everybody from other states and stuff, when they retire or moving to Florida, Boca Raton, like I said in previous episode, there was an episode of Seinfeld where Jerry Seinfeld, his parents moved to Boca Raton, and Florida was like the retirement state. But now Florida is the tourist state. Remember, there are 5 cities in the state of Florida that's the hot spots in Florida. Orlando for its theme parks, Miami, Palm Beach, and Fort Lauderdale for the beach life and the party scene, and Tampa, because Tampa has Busch Gardens, which is another city. And a lot of people come here because of the thing. And then I've seen a lot of people, and I've asked a lot of people, why do you want to move to Florida and Miami and stuff? Oh, because I like it and it's nice and stuff. I said, yeah, because you are moving here. For people who was born here and lived here, it is not the greatest thing. Like I told you earlier, a lot of my friends and families and loved ones and coworkers and friends from school and stuff have moved out of South Florida, and moved further north, because it's better up north. When I was in college back in my early college years, a lot of people used to tell me, oh, to get the greatest jobs, you have to go further north because ain't no jobs down here. A lot of these jobs now are not what they used to. You know, you have jobs like now you have where um, look at a lot of these stores like CVS and a lot of these stores. You know, I recently went into a Dollar Tree, and it blew me out of my mind that now Dollar Tree is offering self checkout. A lot of these restaurants, like McDonald's and Taco Bell, is the only two that I know that have self ordering kiosks, and a lot of these companies like Walmart and Target and now CVS was the first one to do it, and now Dollar Tree is doing it. They have self service checkout, and I'm like, wow, you're eliminating cashiers from your roster. They still have cashiers in these businesses, but you're not having all of your rest of the. And then recently, I've seen Winn-Dixie do it, and I'm like, even though Winn-Dixie is cutting costs by doing it, because Winn-Dixie is slowly going down the drain, as they're slowly decaying, and they're not making money like they're supposed to. But you're seeing that a lot of these places are slowly dying down. They're using self-service ordering. I went into McDonald's recently, and I did self-service ordering instead of just going to the actual cashier and ordering my stuff. Everything is push, 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 push. And a lot of these things, and you're eliminating cashier jobs. And then, like with car making, a lot of the cars that you see today are built by machines. They're built by machines. Back in the 80s and stuff. And early days, cars was made by man. Now you got a lot of these technology where not even just cars, but everything, electrical with technology is built by technology. Computers are built by computers. Cars are built by computers. A lot of these things are built by things, and it's like job market is not the way it is. And even in COVID-19 dealings, you got a lot of these businesses, and you got a lot of these people that are being, like I said, they've been let go of their jobs due to COVID-19, and then a lot of these people had to find other jobs, and they wasn't making the same money they was making at their last job, and then now it comes to the point where they're hurting in their pockets because you're making less money than what you was making before, and now you have to try to budget your money to manage how you're gonna make money when now your rent is $800-900, but you're only making $200-300 every paycheck. You gotta work you gotta work twice as hard just to get the money to pay your rent. Not knowing that you have kids, that you have lights and water and car note, car insurance. You have this bill and that bill. You have a lot of these bills, and you trying to budget. Now, and a lot of these people are struggling because of the fact that cost of living keeps going up. But the job market and the job scene pay still is not decreasing. And a lot of these people had to take pay cuts just to survive. I was making $18 at this job, but my job closed down. Now I got to make $15 at this job, so I'm losing $3-4 because I can't make what I used to make because I got to come into another job. And then you try to find a job that's closest to what you used to have, but with the job market now, it's hard to find any of those jobs because it's hard to find something that was what you used to. You was a manager or a store manager at a restaurant chain. The restaurant chain closed. Now you got to go work at the restaurant as a supervisor, because they already got a restaurant manager, there. So now you're putting yourself in, you're going to be making a couple of dollars less. It may hurt your pockets depending on if you can still manage and pay your bills and stuff, but if you can't, you got to cut corners. And that's the topic that a lot of people are being, and it's not just with coronavirus that is doing it, because coronavirus hit a lot of people, but this has been happening for years. Like I told you, back in 05 and 06, I had an apartment, 2-bedroom apartment. I had to pay water and stuff like that, and also I had, utilities to pay for, and I had, rent. And then the cost of living, it went up within the year or two of there, and it was a lot, and it was like, how do you manage everything when everything keeps going up, and prices keep going up, the food costs keep going up, the car prices keep going up. You can't buy no car for $500-$600 or $8,000-$9,000, $800-$900. You can't buy a car for $2,000-$3,000 now. You gotta be $10,000-$12,000-$13,000 for a car, and that's basically a used car. Back in the day, you could buy a car for $900, a used car, and a new car cost you maybe $10,000. Now, a used car costs you $10,000, and so it's like now you're going to the point where you have to figure out what do you have to do to survive in this world. I know there's a lot of cities and a lot of states that the cost of living is not as high as most states and cities, like Georgia, for instance. I know that the only place that the cost of living may be a little bit higher than most areas in Georgia is Atlanta, because I know Atlanta, the cost of living there is a lot more than Savannah and Bainbridge, Albany. The cost of living is probably more because a lot of people fled to Atlanta because Atlanta is like the black capital of the United States. Everybody and their mama, like Atlanta is like predominantly 70 to 80% African American. And a lot of people move there. Even people I've known, they say, "Oh, I moved to Atlanta." And when I visit Atlanta, I've seen people that are like, "Oh, I'm from Miami. I used to be in this area," because they moved to Atlanta because it may be cheaper to live in Atlanta than it is in Miami, but it's still not as cheap as, say for instance, you go into Bainbridge, Georgia, or Savannah, Georgia, or Augusta, Georgia, or Albany, Georgia, or any of these Macon, Georgia, or any of these small towns in Georgia, and any other countries, or any other cities and states out there. Because a lot of these cities, like a friend of mine who's from Cincinnati said the cost of living in Cincinnati is pretty cheap. It's just it may not be for everybody. Just like when I visited Albany. Albany is a nice city. Would I live in Albany? No, because I'm used to the nightlife. I have a friend that lives in the northern part of Florida, and it's like the population there is only like maybe 1,000 plus, and I'm like, that's like not even half of Miami. That's only like maybe a neighborhood. Like Opelika and that's half a neighborhood. Opelika have maybe 3,000-4,000 people, and that's only half if you count 1,000. And I look at it as if it's a country town. There's woods and stuff like that. So I'm looking at it as if, well, yeah, at the process of it, why would you move from a big city to a country town? And I've seen a lot of people do it, and I say it's hard to adapt. And I've known people that say they've had withdrawal anxiety because they moved and they say, "Oh, because it's more cheaper to live here than to live there." So I say, yeah, that's the case, but you find something in between. I know the city life may be a little bit more expensive than the country life, but then you go find a small city where you can adapt to before you move to the country life, because just moving from the city to the country life is going to give you a different perspective, and then you're going to look at it as if, okay, yeah, I'm living in the city, but then now I'm moving to the country life, and that's not a good sign, because, hey, you got a lot of these people that's going to come out here and feel as if, why am I here? What's the purpose of being here? Yeah, the cost of living is cheaper here, but then, you can't do like for me, I'm used to the city life. So I'm going to come out and say, okay, I live in the city and stuff like that and all that. So I can't move to a country life because I feel as if it would be nothing for me. Like you've seen the hot spots in South Florida, I like to go and have fun, and I like to do certain things. So now I'm like, how can I adapt to it? I want to know, how do you feel about the cost of living in today's economy? Do you feel that the cost of living is ridiculous? Do you feel that it's a good thing? Do you feel that it's a bad thing? Do you feel as if that the prices are ridiculous? I want to know how you feel about all of this. Comment at the bottom of this page. Email us roundtable00@yahoo.com. You can also, just comment at the bottom of this page. You can make a comment. You can also email us roundtable00@yahoo.com, because this is an issue that a lot of people are stressing. It's not a main issue, and it's not something important, but it's what a lot of people have been talking about. The cost of living keeps going up, and the minimum wage and the price of living is not increasing, but the cost of living It's not decreasing. The price of living is not decreasing, but the cost of living is increasing, meaning that the cost of living, meaning rent and bills and utilities, is going up. But but minimum wage is still staying the same, and everything is going down. So I want to know how you feel about that. I am your host, C Money. I thank you for watching this episode of the Roundtable Talk. Don't forget to check out any of our other episodes. Don't forget to subscribe to our page, and don't forget, if you have any topics you would want me to discuss, you can also discuss it, and you can also comment at the bottom of this page for any topics you would like to discuss. If you have any comments about this episode and any other episodes, and you can also email us roundtable00@yahoo.com. I thank you for watching this episode. This is a Roundtable Talk. Have a blessed day. Stay COVID safe. Stay blessed, and I will see you in the next episode.